What's gotten a lot of attention of late, deservedly, is we've had now 3 visitors from interstellar space. Love it. We've been looking for these puppies for decades, by the way.
3 weeks ago, the unthinkable happened. 24 gigabytes of confidential NASA data slipped into the shadows of the internet, stolen in the dead of night. The culprits? A cyber collective known only as Event Horizon. Hidden among the stolen archives was a file stamped with a chilling designation, 3IATLAS. Not just another comet, but the third confirmed interstellar visitor humanity has ever tracked. And proof that NASA is hiding something extraordinary. On July 18, 2025, the mission logs reveal a startling moment. 3I/ATLAS shifted sideways, suddenly, impossibly, like a comet breaking the very laws of physics. Buried deeper in the files lurk stranger secrets still, hints of metallic seams etched along its surface, unexplained bursts of heat as if powered from within, and even a mysterious mission patch, designed but never meant for public eyes. What did NASA discover out there? What happened during this covert intercept that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about visitors from beyond the stars?
By the way, models for the formation of our solar system suggest that we might have been born with many more planets than 8. Upwards of a dozen, 15, 20, possibly as many as 30 planets started in this solar system, many of which had unstable orbits, crashed into Jupiter, crashed in the sun, or got ejected. You get ejected with higher speed that could be contained by the sun. They're out there somewhere.
Event Horizon insists the world deserves the truth. According to their statement, they didn't simply stumble into NASA's servers, they shattered them. In the early hours of September 2nd, 2025, a coordinated cyber assault bypassed 2 layers of agency firewalls, exploiting a forgotten vulnerability in an old mission planning module. Security logs later revealed a massive surge of outbound traffic, 24 gigabytes of compressed data siphoned away in less than 7 minutes. When investigators searched for a trace, they found none. No digital fingerprint, no lingering code, just a silent gap in NASA's audit trail. Hours later, on encrypted forums, Event Horizon claimed responsibility. In their manifesto, they called the breach not a crime, but an act of defiance against what they condemned as unlawful cosmic secrecy. Event Horizon's posts didn't just gloat about breaching NASA's defenses. They carried a chilling warning. The files, they claimed, contained materials so sensitive that even senior NASA directors had been deliberately kept in the dark. Their words were blunt, almost accusatory. The world deserves to know what its own scientists have found. Forensic analysts later reconstructed the night of the breach in haunting detail. At 3:14 a.m. Eastern, the attackers slipped in. By 3:19, they had escalated privileges, climbing into layers of access meant only for the highest clearance officials. At 3:23, the siphoning began. By 3:30, just 16 minutes after it started, the connection vanished like smoke in the wind. In that narrow window of time, Event Horizon had copied internal chat logs, draft reports, intercepted mission telemetry, and a chilling collection of files stamped with the 3IATLAS designation. Some carried a standard confidential mark, others bore the unmistakable seal, top secret. NASA's alert system did activate, but far too late. By the time the lockdown swept through the servers, the digital vault was already empty. The breach was complete before most NASA staff even logged in for the day. In the days that followed, Event Horizon began scattering breadcrumbs across the web. Blurred screenshots, redacted memos, carefully chosen fragments sent to journalists and niche YouTube channels obsessed with classified science. No one received the full 24 gigabytes, only glimpses, just enough to suggest the scale and weight of what had been taken. But this wasn't just about data, it was about control. Who gets to tell the story when discoveries threaten to tear apart our understanding of reality? Event Horizon cast their warning like a gauntlet. The files, they said, contained evidence that could force humanity to confront a new and staggering truth. And with that single declaration, the countdown to disclosure had begun. Before dawn even touched the horizon, encrypted channels were already flooding with screenshots, ghostly fragments of NASA's most guarded secrets. Each file bore the unmistakable stamp, confidential, bold, and uncompromising. Some were so heavily redacted, the text beneath bled through in faint whispers, as if straining to be seen. At the top edge, metadata tags revealed a chilling detail, 0314 UTC, the exact moment logged in NASA's own security audit during the breach. And then, the symbol, a mission patch no one outside the agency was ever meant to see, a stylized comet streaking past the blue NASA vector, framed by the cryptic code 3IATLAS-INT. Every leaked page carried its own fingerprint, routing codes, ticket numbers, and chat handles, stacked over draft diagrams and unfinished tables. These were not rumors. These were NASA's working documents. One blurred memo hinted at orbital mechanics. Trajectory hyperbolic v infinity equals 26.1 kilometers per second. E equals 6.2. The numbers alone suggested something not bound to our sun, a traveler from the deep dark. Another page appeared to be a status log from the Intercept team, most of it drowned in black ink, except for a single surviving phrase, plume anomaly flagged at plus 11.3 seconds. What could erupt from an interstellar object just seconds after contact? Another screenshot unveiled a spreadsheet of raw spectrometry, columns labeled CO2, H2O, NIFE. Some rows glared yellow with highlights, others through in red, as if contested by unseen hands. At the very bottom, a warning stamped like a brand. Distribution restricted, eyes only. The fragments grew stranger. A redacted incident report flashed with authority markings. TS/8CI, signed with a digital key ending in JPL. In the corner of one properties panel, a final breadcrumb. Creation date, August 28, 2025, mere hours after the attempted intercept itself. Buried deep within the file metadata, investigators uncovered a trail of initials, identical to those of a senior project engineer who was quietly suspended from mission access in the aftermath. The evidence was damning. These weren't polished press releases or carefully scripted updates for the public eye. The very structure gave them away: courier font headers, NASA's own internal watermark, and footers referencing the Deep Space Network. Every line whispered authenticity. Some screenshots revealed the familiar blue and white NASA email interface, subject lines blazing with urgency. Atlas Intercept, immediate action, required and telemetry review, anomaly detected. No single document painted the full picture, but together the fragments left little doubt. These were files never intended to escape NASA's vaults. Their authenticity radiated from every detail: timestamps, mission patches, routing codes. Even blurred and censored, the tone was unmistakable: urgent, technical, classified.
So what's your first thought? Is it aliens? That could be. Like I said, it's not my first thought. I promise you.
This wasn't rumor. This wasn't speculation. The leak was real, and it carried the weight of truth. The only question that mattered now wasn't if the files existed, but what they revealed about 3IATLAS, and why entire sections had been swallowed in thick black redactions. The origins of the mystery stretched back to July 1st, 2025, when the Atlas survey in Hawaii logged a strange intruder ripping into our solar system at nearly 130,000 miles per hour. Astronomers at the control desk raised the alarm instantly. This was no ordinary comet. Within days, the designation was official: 3I/ATLAS, a foreign body from the stars, its estimated size a staggering 26 kilometers across. Imagine Manhattan stretched from edge to edge. Now hurl it through space faster than any asteroid or comet ever recorded. That was 3I/ATLAS. By the time it crossed inside Jupiter's orbit, its trajectory told an unsettling story. Calculations from the Minor Planet Center revealed an eccentricity greater than 6. In orbital mechanics, that number is everything. It meant one thing only: 3IATLAS wasn't bound to the sun. It wasn't coming back. Its path was hyperbolic, a one-way ticket from the void of interstellar space. For comparison, most comets born in the distant Oort cloud barely push an eccentricity of 1. But this object, it was moving too fast, too straight, for any solar system body to have launched it. Within hours, observatories across Chile, Arizona, and beyond confirmed the impossible math. The numbers were staggering: an incoming velocity of over 58 kilometers per second, a speed that shrugged off the sun's immense gravity. Veteran survey scientist Dr. Lina Takahashi later described the moment with disbelief. The track was so steep the software flagged it as an error. We had to double-check the data by hand. Trajectory plots revealed a near-perfect inbound shot, slicing across the ecliptic at a shallow angle. The approach vector pointed back toward the constellation Lyra, far from the crowded plain where most solar system debris drifts. And its inclination? Just 5 degrees off Earth's own orbital path. Too close, some argued, to be mere coincidence. The size alone could have made global headlines. But coupled with that velocity, that hyperbolic trajectory, and that unnerving alignment, 3IATLAS forced astronomers to question everything they thought they knew. Was this chance or design? 3IATLAS was no ordinary comet. Its motion, its blistering speed, its very origin, all screamed outsider. An interstellar intruder carrying with it unknown intent. As the days ticked by, telescope arrays tracked its strange acceleration. Early models strained to explain the path. Gravity, solar radiation, outgassing. But nothing fit. The math refused to bend. The data all pointed toward one chilling reality. 3IATLAS was not behaving like any comet humanity had ever recorded. And that unsettling truth laid the foundation for the next, even darker mystery. What was happening on its surface, and what secrets lurked beneath? When the first leaked images from the Intercept mission surfaced, they landed like a gut punch, blurred around the edges but sharp enough at the core to ignite a firestorm of speculation. This was not the jagged, chaotic profile of ice and dust. Imaging analysts working from raw frames flagged anomalies immediately. Bands of smooth plating, eerily metallic in sheen, broken by lines that ran too straight, too evenly spaced to be natural. In the highest contrast shots, something more emerged, seams crisscrossing the hemisphere in geometric precision. Not the random fissures of fractured rock, but ribbed lines, parallel for kilometers, splitting into right-angled branches. A grid etched across the surface of an interstellar object. The geometry defied the very language of nature. It looked less like a wandering ball of ice and more like something constructed. In one redacted internal chat, an analyst gave it a name that spread like wildfire through the leak: the radiator problem. The gridwork of raised ridges across 3IATLAS's surface resembled nothing so much as the cooling fins on spacecraft heat sinks. At dawn and dusk, those ribs cast long, uniform shadows, their symmetry so precise that NASA's own anomaly detection software flagged the pattern as artificial. Side-by-side comparisons to every known comet nucleus, Halley's, Tempel 1, even the interstellar visitor Borisov, collapsed under scrutiny. Natural comets are chaotic. Their surfaces jagged, fractured, pitted like scarred moons. But here, the reflectance profile ran smooth and bright across vast stretches, interrupted only by what looked disturbingly like panel boundaries. Instead of scattering sunlight like porous rock, the surface reflected light in controlled bands, closer to polished alloy than to ice. Then came the frame that silenced the room. Rotated, contrast boosted, it revealed a diamond-shaped plate bordered by a shallow groove. Too sharp for a dust deposit, too clean for a fracture, too engineered to ignore. Thermal imaging delivered the final blow. Infrared overlays showed heat pooling along the ribbed seams, then venting outward in measured bursts from regularly spaced nodes. It looked less like sublimation and more like exhaust. The phenomenon was so stark that one senior analyst, in a comment now circulating online, confessed, "If this is a comet, it's wearing armor." Skeptics scrambled for explanations. Crystalline ice formations, exotic layering, even the faint possibility of a coincidental impact grid. But the numbers refused to comply. No natural scenario fit. The geometry was undeniable, too precise, too symmetrical. No matter the rotation angle, the patterns held their form. With every new frame, the team searched desperately for natural comparisons, but the catalog of known cometary surfaces offered nothing even close. As whispers escaped closed NASA channels, outside experts joined the fray. Some urged caution, warning against hasty conclusions, or the risks of mistaking digital noise for structure. But the evidence refused to dissolve. The flatness of the panels, the radiator-like ribs, the consistency across datasets, all of it kept the question alive. What kind of natural process could carve a body this vast into something that looked engineered? The debate began to pivot. At first, 3IATLAS was just a comet that moved impossibly. Now, attention shifted to its very skin. Smooth, ribbed, heat venting, a surface that seemed to tell a story no comet had ever told. That's when Martin Cord's team at Goddard secured the breakthrough. They were the first to capture a full infrared spectrum of 3IATLAS after the intercept attempt. Within hours, the 42 gigabytes of raw data were sealed away under restricted access embargo. But fragments slipped through. The spectra lit up like a beacon. Nickel lines, sharp, isolated, blazing brighter than any comet on record. For reference, nickel usually appears alongside iron in cosmic dust, the two partners in every cataloged comet ever studied. But here, iron was gone. Its spectral fingerprints absent from every frame. The next anomaly didn't come from images. It came from heat. The James Webb Telescope's infrared array picked up something chilling. Thermal vents pulsing every 90 seconds, like the heartbeat of a machine. The cadence was so regular that Martin Cord's analysts flagged it immediately as non-random. Heat pooled along the ribbed seams, then erupted outward in tight, directed bursts. Not the wild, chaotic sprays of sublimating ice seen in natural comets. These were discrete, timed pulses, each one aligned perfectly with a spike in surface temperature. The logs gave it a name usually reserved for engineered craft: directive motion event. Trajectory analysts inside the flight room traced the pulses against 3IATLAS's path through the inner solar system. The results were undeniable. After each thermal burst, the object executed a subtle course correction, small but precise, and always in the exact direction required to maintain its hyperbolic escape. Gravity alone could not explain this. Solar radiation pressure is constant, not pulsed, and natural outgassing from ice vents scatters in random sprays, not in focused sunward jets. The evidence pointed to something deliberate, something controlled. Cord's group understood the implications and kept their findings under tight wraps. Only short, carefully worded summaries were sent to mission leads. The raw files, the nickel without iron, the rhythmic heat pulses, the course corrections tied directly to those bursts, remained locked behind NASA's most secure firewalls. Only a handful of analysts had access. The evidence was no longer scattered anomalies. It was beginning to form a pattern. 3IATLAS wasn't drifting aimlessly. It was following a plan. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who once risked his career arguing that Oumuamua might have been artificial, wasted no time in weighing in on the leaked files. The intercepted telemetry, he argued, read less like cometary chaos and more like the blueprint of a propulsion system. Each heat pulse, each course correction aligned with what you would expect from a vessel using ion drives, engines that push against the void not with fire, but with charged particles accelerated by electric fields. Loeb put it bluntly: if you wanted to slow down after a journey between stars, you would fire your engine sunward at perihelion. And that, he noted, is exactly what 3IATLAS did. But propulsion was only half the story. Hidden deeper in the leaked logs was another anomaly, one that shook even the most cautious skeptics. Radio astronomers reviewing raw intercept data had flagged something that shouldn't exist at all: a faint, repeating echo. Not the messy hiss of cosmic static, not the irregular flicker of natural bursts. These were precise, clipped signals, bouncing back at intervals that mapped almost perfectly onto the timing of the object's thermal pulses. Veteran telemetry specialist Marissa Singh, in a chat log later leaked by Event Horizon, wrote with unnerving clarity, "It's like someone is pinging the probe, and it's answering." The pattern was too exact for chance, too deliberate for noise. The most unsettling evidence didn't come from spectra or telemetry. It came from a fragment, smaller than a grain of sand. Recovered by the interceptor's dust collector, the sample was cataloged and rushed to analysis. An internal memo, later leaked in pieces, described the finding in language that rattled even hardened technicians. Under electron microscopy, the fleck revealed a structure no natural process could easily explain: a lattice of silicon, doped with phosphorus, stacked in micron-thin layers. Not random crystal, not chaotic grain, but an architecture eerily reminiscent of a semiconductor wafer. No comet dust had ever looked like this. No interstellar particle matched its order. In the partially redacted summary line, still visible beneath black ink, stood a phrase that chilled the review room: semiconductor structure detected. Artificial origin cannot be excluded. From that moment, the debate shifted. It was no longer about peculiar chemistry or strange orbital mechanics. The fragments of evidence were converging: the files, the echoes, the thermal pulses, and now this microscopic shard of circuit dust. Together, they whispered the same terrifying suggestion: 3IATLAS might not be a comet at all. It could be a probe, a relic, a machine built long before humanity learned to look skyward, a presence with a purpose we could only begin to imagine. By September 2025, the impossible was public. 24 gigabytes of NASA's Intercept mission data, complete with timestamps, classified headers, and undeniable authenticity, were loose on the internet. The leaked files painted a picture that science could no longer dismiss: a 26-kilometer object tearing through the solar system at 130,000 miles per hour. suddenly altering course, an anomaly no natural force could explain. High-resolution images revealed smooth metallic panels and ribbed seams carved across its surface, unlike any comet ever seen. Spectroscopy returned results more unsettling still. Refined nickel without iron, a signature no natural process produces, paired with precise 92-second thermal pulses, each synchronized with surgical trajectory corrections. And then came the fragments. Radio echoes bouncing back at intervals too tight to be random, too exact to be dismissed as static. Microscopic silicon lattices, layered with phosphorus, their geometry a mirror of engineered circuits. Pieces of evidence that, taken together, whisper the same possibility. This is not a comet, yet the truth remains buried. Critical details stay hidden beneath thick redactions. The object's purpose, its origin, and whether this is the first or merely the latest of such encounters remain shrouded. What is certain is this: 3IATLAS is rewriting the rules. It challenges every assumption about interstellar visitors, every model of celestial mechanics, and every comfortable answer about our place in the cosmos. For now, the evidence forces us to reconsider what drifts through our skies, and what or who might have sent it. If you want to keep uncovering the truth with us, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.